Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. I have just gotten done with my family's celebration for December that we always do, called Beermas. It was a fun time tasting beers from all over the country that we had collected from the before time, and it was just me and my immediate family. So I'm really glad that we got to have that. Anyway, we're going to be playing some Orzhov Smallpox again. I love this deck, and it feels like it's good in this metagame, and I don't want to make any changes to it right now. And I'm slightly lacking on brain power due to the aforementioned holiday being last night. But hey, it's time to get recording. We've got I believe. Let me check my video list here. I think, yeah, I missed out on recording Mad Meta Magic in the last block of 3 videos, so you will have back-to-back Mad Meta Magics. Um, so I know those of you who follow me for that series, you have that to look forward to. All right, why didn't you pop up? There we go. Cool. Kind of excited. I bought a little furnace so I can start making. I can start recycling copper, aluminum, and precious metals just for something to do in my free time, to kind of get away from the computer screen for a bit. And I'm looking into doing some metal casting stuff. So if anybody has any ideas for something that would be really cool to get casted out of aluminum or like bronze or something like that, let me know. Alright, opponent starts Snow-Covered Forest into an Elvish Reclaimer. So this does appear to be the Eladamri's Toolbox deck. Now, if my opponent can either play flagstones or tutor up flagstones, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Because we did want to cast Smallpox this turn, and my opponent will just tutor flagstones into another flagstones, I think. Which means our Smallpox is significantly worse right now, because we don't even have our own land to take advantage with that. So we get a Godless Shrine, and I think I'm going to go with Stoneforge Mystic here. Okay, so we're going to go tutor up, I think, Feast and Famine, pass the turn. The opponent probably sacks Flagstones to get Flagstones, because that interaction with Reclaimer is pretty strong. So Flagstones finds them a Scattered Groves. Elvish Reclaimer finds them... If it's not another Flagstones, I might just cast Smallpox. But it is another Flagstones. Okay. 3 mana for my opponent. They play Dryad. Do they not have any lands? I'm kind of confused by this play a little bit. If they had no lands to play, I would have thought they wanted to. Okay, they're probably deciding which lands to play. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, so they will probably get a Primeval Titan next turn. We kind of need to draw a way to kill Dryad. I just sack Flagstones now. Thoughtseize could also be good, if we can Thoughtseize away the Titan. We need to either kill Dryad or stop our opponent from playing a Titan. That is the current goal. Okay. Valakut kills Stoneforge Mystic. So we untap, draw another Marsh Flats. I can Smallpox here, but I don't think that does anything. I'm going to play Silent Clearing, and I'm going to crack Silent Clearing. And I think I'm going to scoop it up and go to game 2. Yeah, if I didn't find what I needed. So this is a really early concession, but I'm actually kind of hiding what we're doing a little bit. Because now that we know what we're up against, we can actually make a more informed decision about how to deal with our opponent, and they're not going to really know what we're doing. So they might sideboard in a way that is advantageous to us. I also think I kind of a questionable hand versus my opponent. So Dismember's going away. I will drop a Smallpox on the... No, we're on the play still. I will keep the Smallpox. Gonna go down... Let's see. Akaya's Guile, Elspeth, a Blood Chief's Thirst. Even though Blood Chief's Thirst is good and can hit the taller creatures. I think we cut 1 Inquisition. Maybe even a 2nd Inquisition. Well, actually, the hand hate seems really good here. I'm gonna cut a... I don't know what to cut. I cut a Fatal Push and I think a Lily. We're gonna try like that. Alright, we'll play first. Alright, we have Thoughtseize, Stoneforge, Liliana, so I'm gonna keep that. Hopefully Thoughtseize is good enough to disrupt something from my opponent. Maybe we can keep them off of their ideal one-drop opener, so they can't do crazy ramp shenanigans. They can only do, like, kind of crazy ramp shenanigans. So I realized I lean in and out of, like, where the mic is at, and I'm wondering if that's what's causing the volume swaps, because that's the only thing I can think of. And I also realized the mic is seated in the mount a little weird. Sorry. Okay, how's that? About the same for my regular speaking range. Ah, crap, I don't know. Okay, well, we're gonna start Urborg. Thoughtseize. Opponent has Path, Eladamri's Call, Dryad. I'm gonna take Eladamri's Call from them and pass. If my opponent paths Stoneforge, that's gonna be fine, because it'll actually ramp us into Batterskull very quickly. So they start Windswept Heath. We untap, we draw Lingering Souls. So Godless Shrine untapped. Play Stoneforge Mystic. We even got a good card to pitch to Liliana uptick, which I'm pretty excited about. Stoneforge Mystic is going to go and get us a Batterskull. Path to Exile does not line up well with our deck, because our threats are either non-creature or relatively, like, recurrent or grindy. So, like, Path answers 1/4 of a Lingering Souls and gives them a land. Or, you know, and gives the Lingering Souls player a land, and then it doesn't actually answer Batterskull. Okay, so they're going to crack Windswept Heath on our end step. They get a Temple Garden. Untapped. And they're pathing Stoneforge Mystic. That's pretty nice, I think. We're going to get a Plains, because we already have an Urborg. Okay. So, opponent plays Snow-Covered Forest, which we knew about. They're thinking about playing a 2-drop. Explore. If they miss a land drop, I am for sure playing Liliana. Okay, they're going to play Sacred Foundry, I think, to leave up Path. It's still a great Liliana turn. That's what we're doing this turn. We'll play Fetid Heath. Play Lily. This is probably going to cause my opponent to pitch a Path. But they're not going to have a bunch of extra lands to play for the Dryad or anything. And I think that'll work out well for us. Okay, opponent pitches Path. So we know they have Dryad, which we could just force them to sack, and then play out like a Batterskull. And then we can go Stoneforge for a different equipment to suit up Batterskull with. Okay. Opponent plays an Elvish Reclaimer, and is passing. We untap, we draw Swamp. Okay. I think what we do here is play out Silent Clearing, uptick Lily, pitching Swamp, flashback Lingering Souls, and play Stoneforge. We could play out Batterskull too, that would also be fine, I think. It's just kind of dangerous to leave Reclaimer alive. They do only have 2 cards in hand. I mean, I could just uptick Liliana. Well, Liliana is going to be protected by Lingering Souls, or Batterskull if we play it out, so I think I'm just going to make my opponent sack, because they do have so few resources, and they're not hitting land drops. I don't want them to tutor up a Flagstones to, like, make themselves impervious to a Smallpox that we can interrupt their mana with. And I think I'm going to start with playing out a Batterskull rather than the Lingering Souls, now that I'm thinking about it. Because this does let us get our other land drop out of our hand. Like, we're not wasting this land by pitching it. And it's not that we need a ton of mana, but if we're going to ever sack lands to Smallpox or anything like that, it's better to have extras. This also lets us crack Silent Clearing to draw and still have 5 mana. Okay, I'm going to plays a Dryad into a Valakut into a Sejiri Step. Okay. Well, if we draw removal for the Dryad, that turns off the Valakut plan, but if we draw Boil, I think my opponent loses. So I'm actually, because I drew another land, going to cash in Silent Clearing right now. And we'll get an Inquisition, which is not useful. So, play a Swamp, go to combat, attack for 4, no blocks by the opponent, we're at 20. They could cast an Hour of Promise if they top deck it, but they can't cast a Titan. You have to top deck a land first. So I'm just going to uptick and discard Inquisition, because I'm not doing anything else with that mana. And we're going to go get a Sword of Fire and Ice, and then cast a Lingering Souls. Pass the turn. This way, we can down-tick Lily to kill the Dryad. I mean, a land drop lets them have a Lightning Bolt, which would kill Lily, but then they still have the problem of trying to deal with the Germ token, because they don't need this revealed anymore. Field of the Dead is kind of annoying. They definitely shoot Lily here, yep. We can put the sword on a Spirit to ensure that we get in for damage. It's probably the most reasonable thing we could do. Okay, we also drew Bloodchief's Thirst. So play out Shambling Vent. And I think we are just going to full price to kill this. I mean, we are losing out on a draw, but that's not that big of a deal. My opponent's still dead in 2 swings. And this way, my opponent can't just top deck a Titan and kill us immediately with Valakut or anything crazy like that. Okay, they go to 4. My opponent untaps. And if they do play a Titan and make a bunch of zombies, play an equipped sword onto a Spirit kills them. I don't think my opponent has any one single card that beats us. Skyclave Apparition. Hitting Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, we untap. We draw Flagstones. Play Sword. Equip Sword. Go to combat. And kill our opponent. Alright, moving on to game 3. My opponent is probably going to drop the Paths. I actually think I'm going to drop the Fatal Push for the other Bloodchief's Thirst. And I guess Dismember does kill Dryad, which makes it kind of useful. We're going to be on the draw, so I can probably drop a Smallpox for a Dismember. Smallpox is good, but on the draw it's a lot worse. So we'll try like this. Alright, here we go. As far as a hand goes being on the draw, I think this one's fine. I like multiple pieces of hand hate versus my opponent's deck. It's unfortunate we don't have a Fatal Push or a Bloodchief's Thirst. I always want to call it Ascension. It's not Ascension, that's the other card. It is also 1 black, I think. But if my opponent starts tap land, this hand gets pretty good. If my opponent starts with the Elf, this hand is less good. Okay. Opponent starts Windswept Heath, cracks it, finds a Temple Garden, untapped, into an Elvish Reclaimer. Okay. We untap and draw Shambling Vent. We're going to start Urborg Inquisition. Opponent has Veil of Summer, Eladamri's Call, Path. Well, take Veil. Pass the turn. Like I said previously, I think if my opponent paths Stoneforge, I'm okay with that. Okay, opponent plays Castle Garenbrig. Passes, we untap. Draw Dismember. Play Marsh Flats. And... So there are 3 plays I'm considering making here. We can Thoughtseize our opponent, at which point we would just take an Eladamri's Call, and my opponent would still have one they could cast if they wanted to. We can... And the potential side play to that play is also dismembering Elvish Reclaimer, so they only get 1 activation of it. I think I would wait until they activated it to do that, or until they cast Eladamri's Call. The alternative is we can play Stoneforge Mystic and it just gets pathed, but I think that gives my opponent too many activations of Reclaimer. So we're going to go with Thoughtseize. But we want them to use their mana before we dismember, or they could path their own creature. We'll take Prime Time. It's better to just not let that card sit around in their hand, I think. Okay, so on our end step... Okay, we'll let this resolve. We also didn't want to dismember because we saw Sejiri step, so my opponent could have actually tutored up that land and given Elvish Reclaimer protection. So we're just going to dismember the elf now. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent draws and plays a forest. Their hand is still 2 calls and a path. We untap. We draw swamp. Okay. Crack Marsh Flats for a basic plains. Play Stoneforge. I'm going to play this a particular way. I'm going to get Batterskull because I do want another threat. I guess Sword of Feast and Famine might be higher value because we have Lingering Souls. And so on 4 mana we would cast Lingering Souls, and then on 5 mana we could play and equip the sword. I think I'm actually going to do that. But I'm going to pass to my second main before playing a Shambling Vent, because I want to see if I can bait them into pathing. Okay, it didn't work. Play the Shambling Vent and pass. Opponent is going to cast Eladamri's Call. They're probably going to go get Dryad at the Elysian Grove. But if they play Dryad, in fact, if they play any creature and don't path Stoneforge, well, I guess I was going to say we could equip Stoneforge, but then it wouldn't be able to attack, because we would have to tap it to equip, so we're just going to cast Lingering Souls. Normally in these Stone Bladey kind of decks, we don't run any swords main deck that give pro white, so... Okay, opponent got a Springbloom Druid. They're going to be able to turn that Flagstones into 3 separate lands. It's a pretty good interaction. Okay, opponent plays Springbloom Druid. Sacks Flagstones. Okay, Flagstones gets a basic Plains. Then they get a couple of forests, I think. Or no, Flagstones got them, I think, Scattered Groves, and the other one got them multiple lands. I don't know what it was. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, and now my opponent is leaving up Path. Okay. I would like to draw another Thoughtseize effect. Fulminator Mage doesn't really do anything here. Fulminator Mage we could use to take out Castle Garenbrig, and that way my opponent would have to path their own creature if they want to play a Titan. Play out Fulminator. I mean, it's also possible that my opponent playing like a 28 land deck or whatever he's playing right now could just top deck a land, but I think this is our best bet. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent does not cast Path. Okay, my opponent plays Vesuva on Shambling Vent. This is not good because we need a way to stop them from tutoring up Titan. Stoneforge doesn't really help. But we'll play out Silent Clearing, and I think our best bet is to just play Lingering Souls. I could crack Silent Clearing and try and draw a Thoughtseize. I don't want to go down mana here, though. It's kind of a huge gamble. Alright, let's do it. Batterskull. Alright, not what I was hoping for. Yeah, I think that was correct, because we really did need to try and hit a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition. I guess Thoughtseize would have really only been the way to do it, because if, in response to Inquisition, my opponent just cast Eladamri's Call, it wouldn't do anything. The problem now, though, is my opponent can go get Primeval Titan, and then go get, like, Field of the Dead in a land they don't have. They did use Vesuva, so if they're only running one Field of the Dead, they can't go double field. Yep, there's Primeval Titan. But I think even if we kill Titan next turn, even if we draw a way to answer it, it just doesn't matter. I mean, Sword of Feast and Famine does give protection from the colors of creatures they're going to have on board, but does not give protection from Path to Exile, which we know they're still holding. Any of our Edict effects have basically become worthless. They don't have Dryads, so Boil is not really an option. Not to mention we couldn't cast Boil if we drew it. Okay, so they do have 2 fields. We untap, draw Stoneforge. Well, put in Feast and Famine, equip a Spirit, go to combat, attack them for 3 in the air. Basically just doing this to untap all our lands. Okay, so they have to discard a card. They discarded Path. Okay, that's a slightly promising sign. So we're going to flashback Lingering Souls just to have a little more blockers. We're going to play a second Stoneforge Mystic. Oops, need white mana here. And we're going to get Sword of Fire and Ice. Pass the turn. So we're going to need a block with a bunch of spirits to stay alive. Let's see what my opponent kept. It's Dryad, so we just die. Because my opponent can just attack with Primetime, get like Valakut and anything, and hit us for enough damage to kill us. Because I think Actually, if they have 2 Valakuts, they just go Valakut, Valakut, and they can kill us with that damage alone. Yep. That is unfortunate. Alright, well, I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright. Thoughtseize into Stoneforge is not a bad start against most decks, even on the draw. Alright. Opponent starts. Urza's Mine. Into a Surge Node, so we are against something spicy. Alright, they did mulligan to 2. And we drew Lily. So, Swamp Thoughtseize. What you got left? Karn, Great Creator, Inventor's Fair. Okay. Pass the turn. So this would appear to be Dicetron. And they put a counter on Everflowing Chalice, play Inventor's Fair, and pass. We untap. We draw a Flagstones, so play Flagstones. Play Stoneforge Mystic. We're gonna go get probably just Batterskull. Yeah, let's just get Batterskull. Pass the turn. Next turn we'll be playing out Liliana. Opponent puts another charge counter on Chalice. I really like this ramp package, by the way. I love playing decks like this. In fact, I played a mono black version of this list that played it played Death Cloud. It was really sweet. So we're gonna play Liliana. We're gonna uptick Liliana, make our opponent discard their last card, and we're gonna pitch Lingering Souls. Opponent pitches another Karn, Great Creator. So pass the turn. Opponent gains 3 life, or gains 1 life off of having 3 artifacts with Inventor's Fair. Core Tapper, though, means that they can make a lot more mana a lot quicker, and they will be able to sack Inventor's Fair to go Tutor at the end of our turn. So we untap, we draw another Stoneforge, downtick, make them sack Core Tapper. So they're going to tap Core Tapper, and then they're going to sack Core Tapper to get 3 more charge counters on that Everflowing Chalice. Okay. They tutor up a Mystic Forge. Core Tapper has a second ability. Okay, cool. I was really worried for a second that my opponent was not going to activate it, and I was like, opponent, Core Tapper is so powerful. Don't forget. Alright, so we flashback Lingering Souls. Then we play a Marsh Flats and pass the turn. I'm actually just going to sack this for a Godless Shrine now. I don't want my opponent to do something in response to me activating a fetch land to like kill Stoneforge or something like that. So opponent probably plays Mystic Forge. They did assemble Tron, that is a naturally drawn Tron. No land tutors. Okay, they replay Mystic Forge, and now they have 8 mana to play with whatever is on top of their deck. Okay, they exile the top card of their deck. It was a land. Okay. So we activate Stoneforge, putting in Batterskull. Batterskull Living Weapon. We untap. Draw another Kaya's Guile. So activate Stoneforge. Put in Sword. Equip the Germ token. Uptick. I'm gonna discard, I think, Kaya's Guile. Go to combat. We'll hit them for 10. And draw a card. Okay, it's a Shambling Vent. So my opponent has this turn. If they don't make any blockers or answer any of our threats, we are representing lethal on board. They start by putting a counter on Everflowing Chalice. They play a second Mystic Forge off the top of their deck. They exile an Urza's Mine. They exile Buried Ruin, and then they're able to play Expedition Map, Everflowing Chalice, and Surge Node. Astral Cornucopia, that's a good one that can produce colored mana. They still have 7 mana. Okay, they play a Ghost Quarter. Out of hand, I think. They Ghost Quarter themselves to shuffle. They get a Wastes. Charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. They sack Expedition Map. They're down to 6 mana left. And the top of their deck after searching has got to be good. Another map. Have to crack map. They get a blast zone. They gotta have something for 3 mana or less, though, otherwise we got them. Well, it was a really cool turn. I think we got a little bit lucky. Versus my opponent's deck, I definitely want Extirpate, Cleansing Wildfire, Ashiok, Fulminator, and Anguished Unmaking. We're going to go down Bloodchief's Thirst. We're going to cut Smallpox. We don't need Dismember. Kaya's Guile is actually not that great either. And I'm going to cut Elspeth, Sun's Nemesis in this matchup. We're going to play it like this. We do need to get Blood Crypt or Savai Triome right away. This feels kind of weird because I took out a lot of my favorite cards from the deck. Okay. Let's see, this is a Fatal Push into Stoneforge into Anguished Unmaking kind of hand, which I think will work. Maybe I should have mulliganed for hand hate, we'll see. Opponent keeps a full hand of 7 this time. We're going to start Shambling Vent, because it's really unlikely that we have to push a Core Tapper next turn. If they have a Core Tapper here, I might feel a little silly, but pushing it now on my turn would be just about the same as pushing it on theirs. But it does have a Ghost Quarter. They play a Chalice on 1. We untap and draw Lingering Souls, so play Swamp. Play Stoneforge. We're going to go get Sword of Feast and Famine. Then we're going to play Liliana and probably follow up with a Flashback Lingering Souls and put Feast and Famine into play. So we will use Stoneforge Mystic's ability, get Sword of Feast and Famine. And I think our best bet is to force our opponent to dump their hand as quickly as possible. Because if I'm not mistaken, Dicetron usually works by stacking up 1 Everflowing Chalice as opposed to multiple. And if they dump their hand and make a big chalice, we can unmake it, and then hopefully the game will be over at that point. Okay, I'm going to play a Karn. They uptick Karn. I see, interesting. Okay, so play Flagstones. Now we can either play Liliana, Souls, or unmake Karn. I think I have to unmake Karn. And I think I have to do it on my turn. I think Wishing with Karn here is going to be way too strong to ignore. Okay, we'll attack for 1 and pass. Opponent plays another Power Plant. Then plays another Karn. They uptick this Karn too, then we untap. We draw another Stoneforge Mystic, so play Castle Locthwain. Play Stoneforge. Tutor up. Batterskull. Pass the turn. Now I'm kind of worried about my opponent having an Ensnaring Bridge. They could also just search up Mystic Forge out of their sideboard, potentially. That would be an issue. Something worth noting versus this deck, because our only piece of targeted removal that can hit artifacts right now, Anguished Unmaking Exiles. If we exile an artifact, they can wish for it with Karn. That might be relevant. Okay, opponent wishes. They do get an Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, they play Cornucopia on 1. And they play a Core Tapper. Okay, then they can sack this to then play Bridge. Okay, so we put in Sword. I don't think it matters though. Bridge resolves. We untap. Oh, we can't activate the sword. So I guess we should have put in Batterskull. Oh well. Play Marsh Flats. Fire up Shambling Vent. Go to combat. Kill Karn. We don't really have a way to answer Bridge now. So the only way that we're going to get out from under that bridge is destroying enough of our opponent's lands. They can't do anything. I guess we could ult Liliana of the Veil. It's kind of ambitious though, but we could try. If my opponent is holding all expensive cards, that's bad for us, because they could just play them. Alright, Ugin the Ineffable. Yeah, I think we lost. Just because we didn't interact with our opponent's game plan in a meaningful way. Which I think means for game 3 I need to keep a hand that is majority and hate. We can kill the spirit to put that card in their hand. We untap. We draw Fulminator. So we can take Ugin to 1. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to combat. We're going to take Ugin to 3. And if they want to downtick Ugin to kill Lily, they can do that. We, on the other hand, have to start plussing Lily to try and get her to alt. And then just go like, Ensnaring Bridge 1 land versus all other permanents. Play Lily. Uptick Lily. We'll discard Lingering Souls and then play Lingering Souls. I mean, maybe I shouldn't discard Lingering Souls. Maybe I should discard Batterskull and then just try and attack with a bunch of 1/1s. In that case, I probably should have just like played out Lingering Souls and then flashed it back. But opponent discards a Surge node. We flash back a Lingering Souls. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps and draws. Makes a token. And then passes. We untap and draw Stoneforge. So what is the biggest brain play we can make here? If we downtick Lily to kill the spirit, my opponent will have 3 cards in hand. That would allow me to equip Sword of Feast and Famine, force them to discard, hit Ugin for a couple points of damage, untap all our lands, and then we could go get the last sword, or we could like Fulminator them. I really don't want to downtick Lily, though. We can just go to combat. Spatial Contortion's a token. Okay, well, I'm glad I did not go for the downtick play. So now... Oh, they have double Spatial Contortion. So now nothing can attack. So now we will uptick Liliana. Discard Stoneforge. Play Fulminator. I guess we'll equip a random Stoneforge so that it's bigger than an attacking spirit. And pass the turn. Okay. Opponent downticks Ugin to kill Lily. 5 mana. 6/7. Another Everflowing Chalice. Okay. So we untap. We draw Flagstones. Float mana, play Flagstones. Keep the untapped one. Tutor up the Savai Triome. Activate Stoneforge. Put Batterskull into play. Living Weapon, not that that matters. Then play Lily. Take up Lily, pass the turn. I mean, my opponent has so much mana that I don't think the Stone Rain at this point is worth it. Like, if they had an Inventor's Fair out, I probably would, but... A redundant Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. A Mystic Forge. My opponent will be able to play probably a lot of spells every turn. And Ugin the Ineffable in this version of my opponent's deck actually makes a lot of sense to me because of the cost reduction factor. At this point, we're just going to F6 a third Ensnaring Bridge. Ow. I don't know if that came through on the mic, but that was my neck popping. Opponent Ghost Quarters themselves, gets a Wastes, just a shuffle, plays a Core Tapper, just as sort of a ritual. Alright, we untap. We draw Cleansing Wildfire. So, play Cleansing Wildfire on Buried Ruin. Actually, probably shouldn't have done that, because if they sack, we don't get the card draw. Okay. Pick up a Surge node. Uptick Lily to 5. And I guess pass the turn. Unfortunately, Ugin is going to get to the point that he can -3 before Lily can -6. Okay, my opponent plays an Expedition map. They upticked Ugin. I kind of want to know how they win. Play an Urza's Tower. They play Karn. They probably just get like a walking ballista. Paradox Engine. Okay, well, Mystic Forge, Paradox Engine. I think I'm good conceding to that. My opponent has like 5 ways to shuffle the top of their deck. Okay. Game 3, Smallpox is back on. We could play Plague Engineer naming Mir. That way they can't four-tapper us. But, alright, we're gonna run it back. And I will play first. Thoughtseize into Lily with a Fulminator Mage. I think I will keep this hand. We do need to draw land for it to work out, though. I'm an hour into recording right now, and it is only match 2. I mean, at least I'm getting to play Magic. I'm not running into things that, like, kill you on turn 1, or gain a billion life and play a million lands and then kill you. Okay, my opponent did mulligan to 6, which does make our Thoughtseize a little bit better. Okay, my opponent has an Everflowing Chalice, a Spatial Contortion, and a Surge Node. I feel the correct thing to do is to take Chalice, even though they probably play 8 of that effect. Pass the turn. Between Astral Cornucopias and all that. Okay, my opponent goes Urza's Mine into Surge Node. We untap and draw Smallpox, which is very tempting to play right now, but kind of need at least one more land before we do, because if we can stick a Lily first, or even Fulminator them first. Urza's Tower, that is concerning. We untap. That's not one of the cards we knew about, that's something they drew. Oh man. Is there any way that Smallpox right now is actually correct? We know 3 of the 4 cards in their hand. We're not really scared of any of them. I think we have to pass. I think we have to try and draw a 3rd land. Okay, my opponent plays an Inventor's Fair and an Expedition map. We untap and draw Marsh Flats, play Marsh Flats, crack Marsh Flats. We will get a Blood Crypt, untapped, and I think we gotta go Fulminator here. Just because I can't let my opponent assemble Tron. So we'll take out the tower. Okay. They crack Expedition map and they get tower. They untap. They play tower. They play another Surge Node. Okay. We untap, draw Lingering Souls, play Lily, uptick Lily, we will discard a Lingering Souls. Opponent discards an Urza's Mine. So they're still holding Spatial Contortion and Blast Zone. They play a Blast Zone. And a Maze Mind Tome. Their last card in hand is a Spatial Contortion. And we untap, draw a Sword of Fire and Ice. So uptick Lily, make them discard. We will discard a Lingering Souls. Flashback Lingering Souls. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent scries. They untap. They gain a life. They assemble Tron. And they can activate Inventor's Fair. Okay. So I guess they could go get Ensnaring Bridge. We untap. We draw Marsh Flats. Okay. So tick up Lily. We are going to discard Kaya's Guile. Play Marsh Flats. Go to combat. Attack for 2. It's kind of a late Smallpox. Not even sure we should be doing that. We could try and play out Sword. I don't want to play out Sword because my opponent might be thinking of putting Blast Zone on 3 to deal with Lily. I think I'm actually just going to cast Souls here. Okay, pass the turn. Okay. Blast Zone to 3. And they draw a card off of Maze Mind Tome. Untap, gain a life. Draw. Well, missing that land drop was super huge, because we would have been able to alt Lily there had we not missed that land drop and gotten to play a return earlier. Okay, opponent cracks Blast Zone. Kill Lily, who is still on the board for some reason. Okay. Play a Mystic Forge. Problem is, unless I have 2 Smallpoxes, I don't have a way of stopping my opponent from playing Bridge. Okay, they're gonna scry. So crack Marsh Flats, we'll get a Savai Triome. Untap. We draw another Smallpox, so go to combat. Attack for 4. And I think letting my opponent untap with Tron is not acceptable. I think double Smallpox is the play here, as awkward as that is, because it definitely hurts us more than it hurts our opponent. It just puts our opponent in a state which we might be able to win from. So, Smallpox. Opponent has to discard, we have to discard, then we sack a creature, and we sack a land. Opponent probably sacks Inventor's Fair to maintain Tron with Mystic Forge. Yep. Second Smallpox. We have to sack another Spirit. We sack a Blood Crypt. Opponent has to sacrifice a Tron piece. They sacrifice Power Plant because there's already a mine and a tower in the grave. They exile Spatial Contortion. They did not do a bunch of fancy scrying on their upkeep, so they may have just drawn Power Plant. Okay. They're going to scry with Maze Mine Tome and exile it to gain 4 life. They exile another Mystic Forge, we untap. We draw Fatal Push. Flashback Lingering Souls. And get in for 2. Okay. Okay, opponent kept a Spatial Contortion. And they kill a Spirit with it, so they only take 1. If I draw another Smallpox, I will play a 3rd Smallpox from this position. As long as I can still snag a Tron land with it, I think. Okay, that's really bad news. Another Surge Node. We untap. Draw Thoughtseize. Flashback Souls here. F6. Because we were running very low on time. When it counters up the Everflowing Chalice, we hit them for 3. Okay. They play another Everflowing Chalice. I don't think my opponent can win in 4 minutes. We definitely can. Okay, they play a Core Tapper. They're charging up a bunch of mana. Exile a Power Plant off the top of their deck. I think because they can't play lands with Mystic Forge. They don't need the Tron land anymore. They play Karn. They probably tick him up just to keep him alive. Yeah. Well, we have to attack all out at Karn because we can't allow them to wish here. It's too dangerous. Play Flagstones. Not sure where you were a while ago. Go to combat. I would love to attack my opponent, but giving my opponent the ability to wish here is, I believe, unwise. We'll attack Karn and then pass. We're going to F6 because I don't think I will be sacking Silent Clearing here. When it charges up the Chalices, they have 3 mana floating. They play an Ensnaring Bridge. Karn goes up to 2. We have no way to force them to draw. We untap. We draw Fulminator, which I am going to play even though I don't really think it does anything here. We'll take out Urza's Tower. Okay. Opponent untaps. I have no idea what's happening because the game is lagging so hard that there's game sounds going off, but nothing else. My opponent played a Buried Ruin, charges up the counters, wishes with Karn, does find a Walking Ballista, which, oh, they can put on 5, and that kills us. Dang, our life total was too low. Alright, well, we will be restarting the client, and I will see you guys in round 3. Alrighty, round 3, here we go. We're playing first. Oof. I'm gonna mulligan that hand. Wow. I think I'm gonna mulligan that one too. Okay. We'll keep... We gotta put back 2 cards, so I'm gonna put back, I think, Fatal Push and a Lingering Souls. And we're gonna keep Fatal Push Liliana and 3 lands. Start by playing a Triome and pass the turn. I like how we went from an okay 7 to a basically the same hand, but 1 less card. Although in the second hand we had 2 Inquisitions, which I was very tempted to keep. Because at least that way we would be doing something, but... I'll play Godless Shrine tapped, because this way we can play Liliana on turn 3. I'm going to play a Blood Crypt into a Magmatic Channeler. We untap and draw Shambling Vent. If I play Liliana and down ticker, I think she dies. Probably to like a bolt. But if I don't, she's going to die to Magmatic Channeler pretty quickly. I mean, I could uptick and then maybe she stays around, but I think it's best to not allow my opponent to keep the Channeler. Intuitively, looking at Channeler, I know it's a good card, but it feels so bad compared to the other options in that slot, to me. A lot of the times that I play against the Pyromancer deck, they can never turn Channeler into anything more than a 1/3, and maybe that's okay, because as like a draw engine it's good, but like, I don't know. Oh, you know, I wonder if my volume issue is because my mic is at a lower elevation. Like, instead of here, it's normally like up here. And maybe it doesn't pick up my voice as well, unless because I just realized when I'm leaning down that it got a lot louder. Alright. Well, we get Skelementaled. I guess we pitch Flagstones and Shambling Vent. Yeah, I want to keep push, I think. Maybe I should have kept a land, because I'm probably upticking Lily. Play Flagstones, we'll get a Godless Shrine. Yeah, uptick Lily. Opponent has to discard, and we discard Fatal Push. They discard Kroxa, which is no bueno for us. Opponent unearths Skelemental, and this time they could use it to kill Lily. They don't, they just hit us for 6. Okay. We draw a Swamp, so play it. Well, am I getting Midnight Charmed or something? Or Kolaghan's Commanded? Yep. Okay. Pass the turn, because I'm not doing anything else. So we kind of only have drawn lands. And in that case, was denied a draw. I'd like to top deck a Smallpox here to deal with Kroxa. But I think this is an actual bad matchup for this deck. The Bloodchief's Thirst does do it too. Pass the turn. I guess I didn't have to full price it, but I did. Okay, opponent plays a Magmatic Channeler. Inquisitions are empty hand. Just to get another card in the grave for Kroxa. Play a Plains, pass the turn. Okay, opponent pitched Magus of the Moon to dig in their deck. Or they chose Magus of the Moon after pitching a different card. And pretty sure that clinches it. Alright, next game. So, Celestial Purge coming in. So is... I think Anguished Unmaking, Extirpate, Kaya's Guile. Do we want Fulminators? They might be too slow here. So I'm going to go down Bloodchief's Thirst. I'm going to go down Dismember. And... maybe an Elspeth and a Smallpox, I think. Smallpox is just not as good versus their deck as it could be. Because of how much they use the grave. Alright, we'll play first. Yeah, we'll keep this. No threats, but should be able to slow our opponent down quite a bit. Start with Inquisition. They have Thoughtseize, Magus of the Moon, and Blood Moon, and Inquisition. I think this game has gone from, like, bad to unwinnable. Like, with this exact combination of cards. Because, like, if it was just Blood Moon or Magus, we could purge it, but they also have 2 hand hate spells that can just take our whole hand from us. Taking a hand hate spell does not stop them from doing that either, so the best bet is to take something that's going to be hard for us to interact with, like Blood Moon. I'm going to take Magus, because I guess I should have taken the actual enchantment, because we have more creature removal than non-creature removal. Kind of an awkward match. This is, again, a situation where the deck that I'm playing right now is a deck that preys kind of on the strategies that rise to the top. So, like, Uro Omnath, it does pretty well against, etc. But, like, the problem is we lost immediately, and now we are kind of paying the price for that. I guess I am holding both swamps and a snow-covered plain, so I will have mana, which is good. Okay, they're gonna Thoughtseize our only non-land card away from us. We untap and draw a Savai Trio. So, play Flagstones, pass the turn. When it cracks Bloodstained Mire, gets a Swamp. They're probably playing Blood Moon this turn. When it plays a Blood Crypt into a Blood Moon. Cycle Triome. It's the first time we've done that in a long time. So what would be a good top deck here? Like Lily. There's a few. We untap, we draw Shambling Vent, play Marsh Flats, pass the turn. I do not like how this is playing out. When it plays a Blood Crypt into a Magmatic Channeler, Thoughtseize for the hand check, we've got nothing. And their last card in hand is Angrath's Rampage. So we untap, draw Inquisition, give them the old Inquiry, take the Rampage. I am going to play the Swamp out at this point, because if my opponent top decks a Lightning Skelemental, we are in trouble. Because that would get rid of a basic land out of our hand that we definitely need to win the game. Opponent hits us for 4, and they're playing whatever's in their hand. It's a Seasoned Pyro, so they get to draw 2 cards. That's a pretty good top deck. They play a Mountain. Alright, we untap and draw a Stoneforge Mystic. So play the Mystic. And I think we want to get Fire and Ice here. Play Shambling Vent. Play Sword of Fire and Ice. Pass the turn. This is bad if my opponent draws another Angrath's Rampage or Kolaghan's Command. But if we can equip Sword of Fire and Ice, we can start drawing cards, dealing damage, potentially racing. We have a good blocker if we draw anything else that we can re-equip Sword to. Batterskull seems a little bit fragile in this situation, which is why I did not go for the Batterskull. The opponent hits me down to 9. Plays another Seasoned Pyromancer, discards Torpor Orb, gets an Elemental and draws 2 cards. We untap, we draw Inquisition, so fire off Inquisition. Get a Lightning Bolt. Okay. And it's going to be game because my opponent has 9 damage on the board. Ugh. Unfortunate. Alright, see you guys in round 4. Alright, round 4. I do want to play first. I think this hand will do just fine, although I'm not too thrilled about multiple tap lands. I think I'm going to start with a turn 1 Thoughtseize. I think it's unsafe to wait on this. Although my opponent is named Reanimator Fiend, so maybe they're playing Reanimator. We're going to go Marsh Flats, fetch basic Swamp, Thoughtseize. They are playing Charbelcher. They have a lot of rituals, too. I guess I take Charbelcher. So they can go land, Simian Spirit Guide, Ritual, Reforge to get a new hand of 7, which amuses me. We draw Snow-Covered Plains, play the Triome, pass the turn. Plays a Seagate Reborn that they just drew. They're going for it. So Ritual, Reforge. We know nothing in their hand. We do have 2 Inquisitions, which we can use to try and disrupt it. Let's go Inquiring. They have a Blood Moon, which would be annoying. So take Blood Moon. Yeah, Silent Clearing. We will Inquisition off of the Triome. Valakut Awakening. They could draw a bunch of cards. Metamorphose also lets them draw a card. I think Awakening is more concerning. Okay, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays Shatter Skull. The Hammer pass. We untap and draw. I think we probably have to play Liliana this turn, but they also have Pact of Negation, so this is like a glass cannon build of Charbelcher. I don't know if the blue is splashed just for Pact of Negation, or if blue is splashed for other reasons as well. Guess we'll find out. Draw Fatal Push. Play Lily. Uptick Lily. Discard Lingering Souls. I don't think we need Fatal Push for anything, but it's the only spell I can leave up right now, so I'm gonna leave it up. Okay, opponent discarded Spikefield Hazard. Okay, they Manamorphose on our end step. And untap. Now they play a Blood Moon. Okay, it's kind of a problem. Our deck is a bit soft to Blood Moon, I think. Play Fetid Heath. Flashback Lingering Souls. Uptick Lily. Discarding Blood Chief's Thirst. Opponent discards Pyretic Ritual. Pass the turn. They play a Spirit Guide. We untap. Draw Godless Shrine. Play Godless Shrine. Uptick Lily. Discard Kaya's Guile. Opponent discards Turn Timber Symbiosis. Kill Spirit Guide. And attack for 2. Oh, I'm so dumb. That only works. That only works if you don't do what I did. Alright. Uptick Liliana. Discard Smallpox. Pass the turn. I will double block the Simian Spirit Guide. I am so tired right now. I am sorry for the punt. But it wouldn't be a Kano video without a big punt, right? We were going to double block and open ourselves up to Spikefield Hazard. I guess if my opponent has that, we probably have to just downtick Liliana to make them sack it. Okay, we untap. We draw Smallpox. Uptick Lily. We are going to try and take her to 7. Opponent is discarding a bunch of lands that they aren't playing, which tells me they have something in hand they really want to resolve. Unless we get another hand hate spell, we're not going to find out what it is. Okay, we cannot play Stoneforge, so we're going to discard it. Opponent discards an Iron Crag Feat. So it's not Belcher. Their last card in hand is not Belcher, otherwise they could just Iron Crag Feat and we would die. We draw Godless Shrine. Play Godless Shrine. Downtick on our opponent. I guess it's 2 lands and Moon versus 2 lands. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Balaged Sanctuary. We draw another Smallpox we can't cast, so uptick Lily. Opponent loses out on Iron Crag Feat. They play a land, they only have 1 card in hand. Play Urborg. Uptick Lily. They lose a Seagate Restoration. Okay, they top deck Manamorphose and play it, adding red, green. Then they cast a Desperate Ritual. Okay. I imagine that they have, like, Past in Flames, as well as, they might only have 1 Charbelcher, though that seems a little absurd to me. Like, as soon as they top deck Charbelcher, we probably just lose. As soon as they have 4 mana plus Charbelcher, I mean. Play a Marsh Flats. Uptick Lily. They discard Pact, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Valakut Stoneforge. We draw an Inquisition, so uptick to 6. Pass the turn. Opponent draws... Okay, we draw Lingering Souls. Uptick Lily. They Lightning Bolt Lily. Okay. We discard Lingering Souls, play Lingering Souls. They stopped Liliana from ulting for a few more turns. But we need to be able to ult in case our opponent plays Charbelcher, because if they play Charbelcher, we're in trouble. Second Liliana, which we cannot cast. So uptick Lily. Opponent discards an Iron Crag Feat. Get in for 2. Long games today. I didn't expect every game was going to be long. We draw a Silent Clearing, so play it. Uptick Lily. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent plays a 6th land. We untap. Draw Thoughtseize. I don't think I can ult Liliana yet. So we have to fade a Charbelcher for 1 draw. Well, actually, if they play it, we can just say, you know, you can have Charbelcher and Moon, or you can have your lands. Okay. Opponent plays a 7th land. Draw Stoneforge, which we can't cast. So, ult Lily. We're going to say you can have Moon and... No. You can have Moon and green lands, or you can have those other 5. They're going to take the pile of 5. No? Alright, well we made the right decision then. Attack them for 6. Or 2, I mean take them to 10. I don't know where I got 6 from. Probably Liliana ult. Spikefield Hazards Liliana. There goes the Stacks engine. We draw a Fatal Push we can punt with. Go to combat. Hit them for 2. They are now at 8. We've seen so much of their deck, and I just don't know what's happening. Like, it's obviously Charbelcher, right? But we've only seen 1 Reforge the Soul. We've only seen 1 Lightning Bolt. And those are cards I'm presuming they would play more than a playset of if they could, you know? On our upkeep, they're stopped. Draw Blood Crypt. Play Blood Crypt, go to combat. Hit them for 2. We go to 6. They draw. We draw Lily, go to combat. Attack for 2. Take them to 4. Okay, they play a land. They pass. We draw a 2nd swamp. Play Lily. Uptick. Guess we discard Mystic. Opponent discards Pact of Negation. We go to combat. I've just crossed the 2-hour mark of this recording. Opponent goes to 2. Oh my god, okay. So versus their deck, I definitely want Cleansing Wildfires. Extirpate, Fulminator, and Ashiok, and Anguished Unmaking. I do not want Dismember, Bloodchief's Thirst, Fatal Push, Kaya's Guile, and yeah, we're just kind of maxing out on land destruction, I think. We will keep this. I like having the hand hate, and Smallpox would be great if we can get to Smallpox. Anguished Unmaking, of course, can kill a Charbelcher or a Blood Moon. We also do have a Snow-Covered Basic Plains here. So, if my opponent has a quick Blood Moon hand, it's easier for us to draw. Alright, that is a double Leyline of Sanctity into a tapped red land. We untap, play Marsh Flats, crack it, get a swamp, pass the turn. Opponent plays a tap land, draw Lingering Souls, play Stoneforge. Let's go get a Batter Skull. We need to get down Liliana though as quickly as we can. Like if we could play Liliana, follow up with a Smallpox. The opponent Manamorphose. Gonna play a tap land and pass. We draw Godless Shrine, play Godless Shrine. Play Lily. Uptick pitching a Lingering Souls. Opponent discards a Valakut Awakening. We attack them for 1. Pyretic Ritual. Iron Crag Feet. Charbelcher, we die. Wow. Alright, well, I think if we'd cast Smallpox there, we would have won, but we really wanted to get Liliana down. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just run it back. It's gonna really suck if they have another Leyline of Sanctity hand, but I think we can do better than that. This hand is not much better. I would like Hand Hate, but I'm not going to mulligan to it exclusively. I think I will keep this. We're going to put back Ghost Quarter and Urborg. Yeah. Start Marsh Flats, pass the turn. Okay, opponent says, or starts Balagad Recovery. We're going to get a Snow Plains. We draw Triome. We're going to play the Triome here because getting down Fulminator or Liliana is probably more important than playing a Stoneforge into a threat. Opponent bolts themselves for a Shatter Skull. Rituals. Ironcrag Feet. Charbelcher? Wow. Well, so they are playing 4 Charbelchers. They just didn't draw them for 30 turns in the first game. Man, kind of feels like we're destined to lose. I'm tempted to call it here just because we can't win anything if we only win one. And I've already been recording for so long, but I can try and play a quick match for the 5th round. But if I get frustrated and scoop early, please understand. I am now on, I'm just over 2 hours into this recording, and I thought this entire recording was going to be like an hour and a half at most. But we've played like exclusively long matchups, and it's just been awful losses. I know it's not saying that's a bad thing, because we got to play a little bit of cool Magic, and we got into some interesting situations, but like I mentioned earlier, we lost out in the first couple of rounds, and then played again, or we lost out in the first round, and then we started to play like completely off meta decks. Round 1 and round 2, we easily could have won. Round 4, we easily could have won with different hands, but such was not the case. All right. We'll play first. I think we can do better. This counts. I will keep this. I'm going to put back, I guess, Souls. I don't want to, but I don't think I'm going to be casting Smallpox on turn 2 necessarily. So we start Marsh Flats, fetch up Godless Shrine Shock, because we're going to need that Castle Lochthwain to come in untapped, and Thoughtseize. Hopefully this isn't burn and I just started off giving them a free Lava Axe. This is Bant Snow, which will be another long matchup, I think. So we are going to take from them a Remand. Pass the turn. They start Mystic Sanctuary. We draw Swamp. That does make Smallpox here not as bad, because I can sack the Swamp and pitch like Silent Clearing, then play Castle Lochthwain next turn. Yeah, let's do this. Smallpox. Pitch Silent Clearing. Opponent discards Cryptic Command, because they're a long way off of that. Okay, pass the turn. So we know 4 of our opponent's 6 cards in hand right now. They play Windswept Heath. We untap. Draw a second Stoneforge. Play Castle. Play Stoneforge. We're going to go get Fire and Ice, I think. Pass the turn. They get a Breeding Pool. Play Hallowed Fountain into Wall of Omens. Okay. We untap. Draw Lingering Souls. I think we play the other Stoneforge now. We can go get Batterskull. Opponent untaps. Plays an island. Passes. We draw Blood Crypt, so play Blood Crypt tapped. Pass the turn. We're going to try putting a Batterskull into play. Okay. I'm going to play Quaddle. If we can top deck an untapped land, we can suit up Batterskull with Fire and Ice, which would be pretty awesome. That's implying my opponent doesn't have any paths or removal for the Batterskull itself. They attack for 1. So on their end step, put in Batterskull. Living Weapon. We untap, draw Lingering Souls. Do we attack into potential another Quaddle? I think so. So go to combat, attack for 4. Okay. Cast Souls. This way we have other targets to put stuff onto, like Sword. Alright, they do have another Quaddle. They play a Mystic Gate. They have an Uro. Okay, they gain life, they draw a card. Prismatic Vista into play. They crack Prismatic Vista, they get a Plains. They go to combat, they do not attack. We untap. We do draw land. Fortunately, it's not really what I was looking for. Go to combat. I'm going to attack with the Souls tokens. Okay, no blocks by the opponent. They take 2. They go to 12. They path a Mystic. Okay. Get a Swamp. They untap. They play Windswept Teeth. Crack Windswept Teeth. Go to Temple Garden, go to 9. Opponent plays a Skyclave Apparition. Getting our Stoneforge Mystic. I could try and put in Sword now, but if I do, my opponent could have a second Skyclave Apparition. I kind of just want to play and equip it next turn, even though that's mana, like, super mana inefficient. So that's what I'm going to do, because that lets me get in at least one hit with a Spirit wielding it. Okay, opponent attacks us for 2, that's fine. No blocks. It'd be even better if we drew, I guess I'm opening myself up to a counterspell. I should have probably still put the sword in play. It was whether or not I wanted to play around Counterspell or I wanted to play around Skyclave, and I chose to play around Skyclave. So cast Sword. We are playing around Mana Leak and kind of playing around Remand. Okay, I played into that. That was my bad. Go to combat. By attacking with the Death Touchers, though, my opponent has left themselves open to us attacking, and we can gain life. So right now we're kind of winning the race. Opponent throws down the wall to block, takes 2, goes to 7. I'm going to cast the Lingering Souls out of hand first because it's more expensive. Pass the turn. So they're probably playing Uro from the grave. Okay. They did not put a land into play. We untap. We draw Flagstones. Go to combat. Attack for 4 in the air. Okay, opponent trades off 2. Alright, okay. My opponent has turned the corner, and I have other responsibilities to get to. I don't feel like playing this out, so I'm just going to concede. I don't have too much to talk about here. We haven't updated the list, but I also don't feel like it really needs updating. I think the Orzhov Pox deck is much better against the meta decks that currently exist than was demonstrated here, because mainly we didn't play against a lot of meta decks. But I feel like this is very good against meta decks and not so good against a lot of the decks that we played because we were in the losers bracket from the start. But I mean, that's what happens when you play a deck that preys on the metagame if you don't encounter the metagame you expect, right? So it's a lesson in making meta calls here, and we played a deck that should beat Uro Omnath, and we just lost and didn't play against Uro Omnath. So, yeah. Other than that, I think the deck's fine. We had game against a lot of our opponents, we just didn't win because of one reason or another, and one of those reasons was frequently Blood Moon. I would like to see some kind of better artifact destruction in the sideboard here. There's not a lot of decks that Plague Engineer I think is actually good against right now, so I might drop the Plague Engineers into Fulminator Mage for like some disenchants or something to that effect. I'm not sure exactly what it would be though. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. You can also follow me on Twitch, same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually, the last few days it has been, or the last few Wednesdays, it has been earlier than that. So we'll see if that holds up. And yeah, hope to see you guys next time. You're all wonderful human beings. Thanks for watching. Bye!